Hello, Radiant Leo, welcome to Eternal Mindfulness. This is not just another astrology video, this is your soul's gentle awakening call. If you've been feeling a strange heaviness lately, sensing eyes watching you from the shadows of your dreams, or waking up with energy already drained before the day begins, then what you're about to hear is not a coincidence. What if I told you that a dark energy is still watching you, and someone, somewhere, is praying not for your freedom, but to control your destiny? Before you turn away, Leo, listen. There is a reason you've landed here, in this exact moment. The universe doesn't waste time, and it certainly doesn't make mistakes. Your soul has been whispering for release. And this message is the answer you've unknowingly called in. You see, not all spiritual traps look like chains. Sometimes, they take the shape of old memories. A familiar face. A mother figure. A former love. Someone who once held your hand and spoke of safety, but silently decided they couldn't let you go. Somewhere, Leo, your name has been spoken in silence. Your photo remembered not to cherish, but to bind. And while this may sound mystical or strange, the truth is far more subtle, and far more dangerous. You're not imagining the emotional fatigue. You're not overthinking the restless nights. You're not crazy for sensing that something, someone, is holding you back. And here's the most powerful truth. It's not about them anymore. It's about you. Your light. Your freedom. Your right to rise, untethered and unstoppable. In Buddhist philosophy, there's a teaching: freedom is not found outside you. It is remembered within. And today, you're remembering. That's why you're here. That's why you couldn't scroll past this video. So, take a breath. Place your hand gently over your chest. And if something within you is resonating, say this softly in your mind. I am not who they once held. I am becoming who I was always meant to be. Let me also take a moment to express my deepest gratitude for your presence. Every like, every comment, every time you subscribe to this channel, you're not just supporting eternal mindfulness, you're joining a soul family. Your energy helps bring these messages of transformation to more people who truly need them. And believe me, my dear Leo, you'll want to stay until the very last minute of today's reading. Because what the universe is about to reveal is breathtaking. It's not just a story about someone watching you. It's a story about how you rise beyond that gaze. Stronger. Lighter. Unshaken. Now, tell me in the comments, what pulled you here today? Was it a dream? A strange feeling? Or perhaps, something inside you that finally said, enough. Type, I choose freedom, below if your soul is ready to reclaim its power. Stay with me, because in the next part, we'll uncover who has been holding on to your energy, and how you can take it back. Gently. Powerfully. Without fear. Let's begin. There are moments in life when you feel inexplicably tired, not the kind of tired that sleep can fix, but a soul-level weariness that no amount of rest seems to heal. For Leo, under the current astrological transits, that sensation may be more intense than usual. With key planetary aspects pressing on your solar 12th house, the domain of subconscious patterns, hidden energies, and spiritual inertia, it's no wonder that you might feel as if your light has been dimmed, or even held hostage by forces you can't quite name. This isn't a punishment or a failure. It's a calling, a gentle but firm tug from the cosmos, asking you to examine what, or who, may be anchoring your radiance in a past version of yourself. The energy of the Devil card in tarot doesn't always speak of evil or malice. Often, it's subtler than that. It can show up as dependency masked as love, or obligations disguised as loyalty. It appears in the moments when someone's affection begins to feel like expectation, when their care begins to compress your growth, and when a bond once warm now leaves you quietly suffocating. Especially for those influenced by lunar energies, mothers, caretakers, or deeply emotional figures, this attachment may not have been born from ill intent, but from fear. Fear of being abandoned. Fear of losing the comfort your stability once brought them. So they hold on to you, not just with memories or conversations, but energetically. In their inner world, you still belong to a version of yourself that no longer exists. And here's where the law of attraction becomes both liberating and complex. When you wish deeply for freedom, emotional, spiritual, or physical, that very desire can stir up the energies around you that resist change. The people who once depended on your light may unconsciously attempt to keep you within the familiar role you played. They remember you as the steady one, the strong one, the giver, the healer. But when you begin to evolve, to choose boundaries or distance, to reclaim joy without guilt, it threatens their internal balance. And so, without realizing it, they hold the image of your former self in their minds and hearts, trying to anchor you to that old vibration. That's why even as you move forward, you might feel dragged back by invisible ropes. They're not physical chains. They're emotional threads woven from memory, attachment, and fear. Still, none of this defines you. The question is not whether others are holding on to an outdated version of who you were. The question is, are you still holding guilt for becoming who you are meant to be? Have you ever hesitated to take a step toward liberation because you feared it would hurt someone else? Because your heart is kind, and you've been conditioned to believe that choosing yourself is selfish? This is where healing begins, not by blaming, not by resenting, but by witnessing. By acknowledging the weight you've carried not because you had to, but because you didn't yet know how to put it down. In ancient teachings, there is an idea that we are bound not by chains, but by habits of the mind. What you believe you owe others, the stories you tell yourself about duty and love, these become the invisible threads that keep your light tethered. But once seen clearly, they begin to dissolve. You are not responsible for holding yourself small so others feel safe. Your growth is not a betrayal. Your freedom is not a punishment. It is your birthright. The moment you choose to stop apologizing for who you've become is the moment the real you, bold, bright, and beautifully unfiltered, begins to shine through again. When your energy begins to shift, Leo, it doesn't always happen with fanfare or sudden explosions. Sometimes, it's quiet. Invisible. Like a change in the wind that no one else notices, but you feel it deep in your bones. One day, you wake up and realize you're no longer the center of someone else's orbit, and that's when the tension begins. It's not that they stop loving you. It's that they begin to grip harder, not out of care, but out of fear. And in doing so, they reach for anything that once reminded them of your light, an old photo, a message thread, a gift you gave, not to honor it, but to hold on to who you used to be. And this, Leo, is how an energetic loop begins. This isn't a curse. It's not dark magic or malicious intent. It's simply the law of energy in motion. Where attention goes, energy flows. And when someone continues to pour their thoughts, emotions, and unmet needs toward the old version of you, a loop is created. It may look like nothing from the outside, but internally, it feels like exhaustion for no reason, hesitation without logic, or a sense of guilt that quietly colors your joy. It's as if you've outgrown a version of yourself, but the people around you haven't received the memo. So they keep calling in the you that no longer fits, and that energetic mismatch becomes a weight you carry. In numerology, this conflict often reveals itself through the reversed vibration of 8 and 6. The number 8 represents power, direction, and self-mastery. It's when you step into your authority and own your path. The number 6, on the other hand, is the number of empathy, love, and responsibility, especially toward others. When these two numbers are unbalanced, it creates a pattern where you feel the need to protect everyone else's comfort, even at the cost of your own well-being. You might find yourself trying to stay strong, so others don't worry, or holding back your truth so you don't disrupt someone's illusion of who you should be. But that isn't strength. That's survival. Leo, your generosity of spirit is unmatched. You're ruled by the sun, the celestial body that shines not just for one person, but for the entire system. But even the sun must rise and set. It cannot be in the sky at full intensity forever. You've given so much of your light, willingly, lovingly, but now you must ask, is the light I'm offering still being received with respect, or is it being expected, consumed, and taken for granted? There is a teaching that reminds us, when you hold too tightly to an image, you begin to mistake it for the truth. And this happens not just in others, but within yourself. You may start to feel that if you let go of the strong one persona, the dependable one, the giver, then you might lose love altogether. But real love does not require performance. Real connection does not demand you to hold an image at the cost of your own evolution. So today, pause and ask yourself gently, is there an object, a keepsake, or even a memory that keeps you bound to an outdated version of yourself? Maybe it's something small, a letter, a piece of jewelry, a saved voicemail. Write it down. Just its name. You don't have to burn it or throw it away unless you're ready. But naming it is the first step to releasing the energy it still holds over you. Because letting go doesn't mean erasing the past. It means choosing not to carry it forward into the version of you that's finally learning to breathe. When we talk about reclaiming our soul, it's not about recovering something that was lost, but about returning to what was never truly gone, only buried beneath expectations, roles, and emotional residue left behind by others. By this point in your journey, Leo, you may already feel a subtle shift inside. Perhaps you can't quite explain it, but your body knows. It senses the moment you began to question who you've been carrying, and why. This moment, this pause, is not just symbolic. It is energetic. And this is where your ritual begins. Rituals are not about the objects. They are about presence. They are the moments when your body, mind, and intention align to create a sacred pause in the chaos of life. And for you, Leo, a sign ruled by the radiant sun, reclaiming that light isn't just a metaphor. It's your essence. The invitation here is simple but profound. Return to yourself, and call your soul back from all the places it was left behind, in old conversations, outdated roles, the silent burden of being what others needed you to be. Set a space. It doesn't have to be dramatic. What matters is that it feels honest. Light a candle in a shade that speaks to your fire, orange for vitality, gold for self-respect, or even white for clarity. Bring a cup of water, still and clear. Add a few drops of orange essential oil or a pinch of herbs that speak to you, rosemary, sage, or even a fresh sprig of mint. Let your senses become quiet. Let the room soften. This isn't a performance. This is a return. Take a pen, and on a blank piece of paper, write the affirmation: I no longer belong to the image of me held in others' minds. I choose my true self. This act, though small, is powerful. Because when we write with presence, the universe listens as if we're giving it permission to shift. This isn't magic. It's momentum. It's you choosing to move forward with clarity instead of guilt. There's a teaching that says, the mind is like a cup. When it's filled with stale water, no new truth can enter. That's why this ritual isn't about proving anything to anyone else. It's about emptying the residue, the guilt, the grief, the silent agreements you never meant to make. Agreements like, I'll stay small so you can feel safe, or I'll carry your expectations so you don't feel abandoned. These were never your truths, just temporary survival patterns. And when you finish writing, fold the paper. Hold it close to your chest and breathe. Then, only if you feel ready, you can burn it safely, allowing the fire to carry away what words no longer need to hold. Or, you can tuck it somewhere hidden, letting time soften its weight. Then wash your hands with the herbal water, or place the stone in your palm and say softly, I return my light to myself. I am not bound to any altar but the one within my heart. It may sound simple, but in moments like this, simplicity is strength. You're not doing this to be dramatic. You're doing this because your soul is ready to stop waiting for permission. You're doing this because you know, deep down, that the version of you who gave too much, carried too long, and stayed too quiet, is no longer the one leading your life. This is not about erasing the past. It's about rewriting your role in the story. And from here, Leo, it is you who holds the pen. Healing is rarely a linear path. More often, it's a spiral, a journey that revisits old places, not to trap you, but to show you how far you've come. And when you start to shine again, Leo, when your light becomes unmistakable, there will be those who feel it. Even from a distance. People from your past, especially those who once relied on your energy for their own sense of control or comfort, may suddenly reappear. Not because they've changed, but because you have. This is one of the most overlooked aspects of transformation, the return of someone who once held power over you, now sensing that grip slipping away. Astrologically, when the sun, your ruling celestial body, strengthens in your chart, or transits begin activating your identity houses, your presence becomes magnetic again. You're no longer invisible. But visibility comes with a price. Those who benefited from your dimming may try to draw you back in, cloaked in concern, nostalgia, or promises of closure. Tarot confirms this moment with the reversed moon and 5 of swords, an uneasy combination. The reversed moon speaks of hidden motives, things not said, illusions dressed up as sentiment. And the Five of Swords often represents emotional manipulation, the kind that leaves you questioning yourself even after you've done the work to heal. Here's the truth: real love never demands you shrink. It doesn't ask you to forget who you've become. If someone's return requires you to sacrifice your peace, explain your boundaries, or dim your voice again, that's not love. That's need. And need, when rooted in fear or attachment, often wears the costume of care. But you've learned better now. You've seen what happens when you stay in spaces that no longer reflect your growth. You've felt the fatigue of silence, the cost of being misunderstood just to maintain a sense of harmony that was never truly mutual. You no longer owe anyone the older version of you just because that's the one they're most comfortable with. There's a practice that teaches us this. When a thought arises, instead of grasping or rejecting it, observe it. Let it pass like a cloud across the sky. This same principle applies to people returning into your life. Not everyone who reappears is meant to stay. Some come as reminders, invitations to choose again, not out of guilt, but from clarity. When someone tries to return, whisper to yourself, if not aloud, "I am no longer the version you once knew." Say it not from bitterness, but from self-respect. That quiet truth is stronger than any explanation. It's a shield made of wisdom. Leo, your heart is generous. But it no longer has to bleed to prove its depth. You've earned the right to pause before you open any doors again. Ask yourself, does this person see the real me, or are they still attached to who I was when I didn't yet know how to say no? If the answer is unclear, trust your body. The body never lies. Tightness, unease, restlessness, these are all signs. Clarity doesn't come from forcing answers. It comes from honoring how you feel. If you've ever had someone return after your healing, and you chose not to go back, you already know the strength it takes to do so. Share it in the comments. Offer just one sentence of your truth. Not to relive the past, but to anchor your present power. Someone out there might need your courage tonight. You're not obligated to let anyone back into your space if their presence costs you your growth. This part of the journey is not about testing your compassion. It's about protecting your clarity. There comes a moment in your journey, Leo, when you realize that healing is not just about letting go of the past, it's about choosing not to carry what was never yours in the first place. You've been a source of strength, a warm presence, a steady light for so many around you. But even the sun must rest. There's a cost to constantly showing up for others when no one asks whether you've eaten, slept, or taken a moment to breathe. And the deeper truth is, your worth was never meant to be measured by how much you can endure for someone else's comfort. The cosmic energies around you are encouraging realignment now. Angel number 111 has likely been appearing in subtle ways, on clocks, receipts, pages, because something inside you is preparing to reset. This isn't just about change. It's about an inner return to what has always been powerful within you, even if it was buried under roles you didn't choose or expectations you quietly accepted. You are being guided back to a space of self-trust. That's why this part of your reading isn't about someone else anymore. It's about you. Let's begin with your body. If you've been waking up feeling heavy, scattered, or emotionally low without reason, that's not weakness. That's a signal. Your system is clearing out stagnation, energetic weight you've absorbed from people you love, people you've tried to heal, people whose peace you've prioritized over your own. Start simple. Morning sunlight, stretches that open your chest and release the spine, warm water with lemon, and a consistent intake of vitamin C can help you strengthen from the inside out. The goal isn't perfection. It's presence. When it comes to finances, it's time to pause and ask yourself if your spending habits reflect freedom or guilt. Are you using money to keep things calm in your relationships, to avoid conflict, to feel needed? Or are you investing in the version of yourself that's ready to grow? There's a teaching that says, when you truly care for yourself, you become less reactive and more creative. Your money carries your energy, and that energy should reflect your joy, not your survival. In love, the lines often blur for Leos. You love deeply. You give boldly. But love, when true, doesn't ask you to disappear so someone else can shine. Giving is sacred, but not if it means abandoning yourself in the process. Love should expand your sense of self, not shrink it. It should invite you to be more of who you are, not less. If you've ever asked yourself, is this love, or is this debt disguised as devotion? That question alone means you're waking up. You're seeing clearly. Work, too, is a space where this awakening applies. If your career path feels unclear, ask yourself not, what do others expect of me, but, what do I expect of myself, now that I'm no longer pretending? Sometimes we stay in roles not because we love them, but because we fear what will happen to our image if we leave. But the truth is, authenticity never requires a costume. Gold is your lucky color now, not just for external fortune, but because it reflects the inner royalty of your spirit. Gold represents clarity, sovereignty, truth. And you don't need to earn those things. You are those things. The more you align with that truth, the more you stop being a vessel for everyone else's burden, and begin to carry only what's meant to nourish you. This chapter isn't about proving anything. It's about no longer asking permission to rest, to grow, to choose yourself first. Because real peace isn't the absence of conflict, it's the presence of clarity. And Leo, that clarity begins with knowing this: you were never meant to be the one who holds it all together. You were meant to be the one who finally lets go. If you're still here, listening with your heart as much as your ears, then I know something inside you has stirred, not because of these words alone, but because your soul recognizes a truth it's been ready to receive. It's never a coincidence when a message reaches you at just the right time. This moment, right now, is not random. It's a resonance, a quiet agreement between the universe and your inner knowing. You were meant to hear this. You were meant to remember who you are. You are not meant to remain on an invisible altar, trapped in someone else's memory of who you used to be. You are not a symbol of stability for others to depend on while you forget your own needs. You are not a reflection of old roles, expectations, or wounds. You are a living, breathing flame, and no one has the right to dim you, contain you, or define your worth. The version of you that stayed small to keep others comfortable was never the final form. The fire in you was never made to be buried under silence. It was made to rise. So let me ask you, gently but clearly, what are you ready to release today? Is it a name that still echoes in your thoughts? A feeling you've carried for too long? A version of yourself you've outgrown but haven't yet let go of? Write it in the comments. Even one word. Even just freedom. This isn't about public confession. It's about creating a ritual of clarity. Because when you name what no longer belongs to you, you make space for what finally does. And as you do, I want you to know this. You do not need anyone's permission to reclaim your light. You don't need someone's apology to forgive. You don't need their validation to grow. What you need is the courage to choose yourself, over and over again. That courage may not feel loud or dramatic. Sometimes, it's just a whisper inside that says, I'm done carrying what isn't mine. And that is more than enough. Every like, every comment, every subscription you offer here isn't just support for this channel. It's a ripple in the greater field of collective healing. So thank you, deeply, for being part of Eternal Mindfulness. Your energy makes these moments possible. Your presence brings life to these words. And when you return, as I hope you will, may you always feel that this is a space where your truth is welcome, where your light is safe, and where your growth is honored. If you haven't already, hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on the bell so you don't miss any of the healing and insight we create together. And remember, Leo, if you're brave enough to sit with yourself in silence, you're powerful enough to walk into the light tomorrow with your head held high. Now tell me, what part of you is ready to shine again? What truth are you ready to say out loud, even just once? Let this space hold you, and let your voice join the fire we are all building, one honest word at a time.